Oh, by the way, I need to talk to you about my phone. Change. Said
Anything.
they go for at a time. Who wants to talk to me? Maybe I'll find it. No, he won't be here.
Yes.
Won't be here. Thank you, young lady.
Oh,
It was nice.
and
Buenos dias.
Yes, it was.
Buenos días, señor. Emotion.
It was good because we were reflecting back.
oh, okay.
Well, I wasn't reflecting back. I was just born. I was just born in '86, but I was listening to the stories. And your daughter was beautiful.
Oh, I don't know. Here. Do you have
No, I understand. I'm just saying from my experience.
Kenny likes you, by the way. He said he said you.
We're
We're gonna go up to dinner, okay?
Oh, we'll see.
Yeah. Okay.
I just don't want you to go.
I think
You know what?
it was good.
Yeah, but this one. Get to Oh yeah, the homeless.
I think it's just
This is under special
This
assessment.
is really.
By the way, you said that this is a resolution. I'm hoping to combine them together instead of doing two separate.
Didn't even know they.
You know what I would have done? I would have had her.
That more people didn't support her.
You know, it's a count.
We'll see.
Right.
We'll see. I'm going to teach some more.
It's kind of stuff.
And I hope we'll do this.
Yeah, until
Oh.
We don't have a position.
Oh, yeah. Ready?
been mailing it.
Got it. No problem. Mr. Clerk. Mr. Clerk, we have a quorum on the floor. Hey, gorgeous.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Newark Municipal Council special meeting. Madam President, I'd like to start today's meeting with the interviews for the Commission on the Homelessness. Let's do the roll call. Madam President, in accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice has been provided to the Star Ledger, the Jersey Journal, and to the public at large establishing the date, time, and location of this meeting. May I have a roll call of those present, please?
Here.
Gonzalez.
Present.
What was that about?
Absent. McCallum. Absent. McIver.
Present.
Osborne.
Present. Here.
Ramos. Absent.
Call McCallum again.
Okay.
Here.
McCallum.
Here.
Madam President, I'd like to begin today's meeting by doing the interviews for the Commission on the Homelessness. Is Frank Genesese in the audience?
I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk. I was getting something to write with. Could you repeat that, please?
Frank Genesese? Let's move on.
Yes.
John Westervelt? Please step to the microphone,
He's
sir.
here.
Please state your name and address for the record, sir.
John Westervelt, 210 Washington Avenue, Rutherford, New Jersey.
Mr. Westervelt, you have been nominated by the mayor for an appointment to the Commission on Homelessness. Do you have a statement that you wish to make to the council before they begin their questions?
Yes, I am John Westervelt. I'm the CEO of Catholic Charities Newark. I've been there 36 years. As you know, Catholic Charities runs one of the largest shelter systems in the state of New Jersey, with 335 beds each night are full between families, children, single men and women. I think I can bring a lot to this commission on homeless. Also, we have a great shelter in St. Lucy's in Jersey City. That's a partnership between local, state, federal, and corporations and individuals. And I think I can bring all that expertise that we have to this council. So I'm looking forward to being here and giving my 36 years of experience to Newark.
Any comments, questions?
Madam President.
Councilman.
Madam President, Catholic Charities does a great job in Jersey City. I just hope you bring some of that Jersey City, what you have done in Jersey City to Newark, because we really do need it. I mean, what you're talking about St. Lucy's in Jersey City and the partnership, and you have, I mean, people talk about it. That's great it is. I mean, it's just great. I hope you bring those expertise that you bring to St. Lucy's, you bring to Newark.
We're looking forward to it, Councilman.
I'm looking forward to that, too.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. First of all, it's good seeing you again.
Thank you.
The issue of homelessness in the city, in the country, is catastrophic. Do you have any new strategies or plans for addressing this issue other than to build or create more places where they can live? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think you get my
Absolutely. There's, again, you can get buildings, you can build as many buildings you can to house people who are homeless, but the wraparound services is the most important thing, and that's what we deal with at our shelters right now. We at Catholic Charities, being one of the largest entities, and we've been here since 1903, we have a lot of other services that Catholic Charities provide, workforce development. We have job placements and stuff. That's where you really need. We have substance abuse, mental health services. That is what the wraparound services need to be. Because if you don't have wraparound services, you could place anyone in a home, but within 30, 60 days, they'll be out back on the street again. Because you really need to have that nurturing of services brought in. So that's what we are doing in the city, as Councilman Quintano said. St. Lucy's has been in business since 1986 at the shelter. A lot of support from the community, a lot of support from corporations, Port Authority, other corporations and individuals. So we're looking to bring that to Newark as well. And I've already had my first meeting with Dr. Wade and BA for Newark as well on Friday. So we're moving forward. So I just think my knowledge here on the commission, I think will help with everybody else's. My other commissioners will help as well.
Thank you so much for such a comprehensive answer. Councilman?
Yes, good morning.
Thank you. Morning.
We spend a lot of money in having 1 day, 2 days, 50 days housing for homeless. What can we do to have a permanent solution to homelessness? I believe that's what the question was before. I believe that we spend a ton of money attacking a problem that continues to grow. At least in the city of Newark, it grows because every other town around sends the homeless to the city of Newark, including the city of New York. So what can we do to eradicate the problem, eradicate homelessness, provide the services that they need, provide the maybe the education that they need so that we can have a much better, let's say, city, much better state?
We have found, again, and I had my meeting with the BA and Dr. Wade on Friday was to talk about creating a shelter here in Newark, just like we have in Jersey City. And again, you'll see a lot of money less if you get one building that can accommodate all the homeless people that are in the city of Newark as well. We know it comes from outside the city. They're in the we do the same in Jersey City. It's not just Jersey City. We are the only homeless shelter in Jersey City, but they call from all over Hudson County, and everyone knows that. The police actually drive them in by cars and drop them off a block away. We see them on the cameras where they're dropping people off and saying there, just go to the front door, they'll take you, because we don't turn anybody away.
I thought that we had, or that Catholic Charities had a building designated for that purpose.
There's a building on Miller Street that was a former school that we looked for. We've been talking, but somehow we're back to the board again, looking at how we can make Miller Street work.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Councilman Amador.
I don't want to sound redundant on this subject because I've talked about this many, many, many times. probably since I got elected first in 1998. But the fact that the area that is mostly affected by this situation, and I don't want to call it a problem, is Pedro Francisco Park, which is located outside of the train station. We had a very good conversation, you and I, some time ago over lunch, and we talked about a problem and also a series of solutions to resolve this situation. And again, building a shelter or having a building available is not the answer to the whole problem. We need to get to the cause of the situation. We need to go into the reasons why these folks getting to become homeless. There are different reasons: mental health, drug addiction, loss of jobs, and so on, loss of housing, and so on. And unless we start from the beginning, we start from scratch, we're not going to be able to resolve the problem of the homeless. Because one thing that we are understanding and realizing is that the number of the homeless in the city of Newark is continuing to grow, and we continue to spend more and more money. So whatever we're doing is not right. It's not the answer to the problem. Continuing to feed the homeless and continue to kick the can up the road is not the answer to the whole problem. The answer to the whole problem is identify first the reason why these folks are where they are. If you continue to do what we're doing right now, I guarantee you that a year from now, we're going to be here and the number of the homeless in the city of Newark will be even higher than what it is today. Because most of the homeless, over 40% of the homeless in the city of Newark come from outside of the city of Newark. All you have to do is just drive down 21. You see the panhandlers, you see the tents alongside of 21. What do you think those people think? They think that the city of Newark provides shelter, provides food, provides whatever support they need, and they come to the city of Newark. And they leave the towns that are around the city of Newark so they can get what they're looking for. What we need to do is to put down a series of responses to the problem, and the series of responses start from the beginning. Identify the reasons why these folks are in the condition that they are in, and then attack those. If it's a problem of housing, deal with that. If it's a problem of mental health, deal with that. If it's a problem of drug addiction, deal with that. If we continue to have 16, 17 different agencies and different entities using the money and the funds that are being distributed by the city of Newark to fight the problem of the homeless in the city of Newark, and the number continues to grow, that means that we're doing something wrong. And we need to reverse what we're doing.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you, and that's why I believe the model we have at St. Lucy's, working especially at the train station, we do that for the Port Authority in Jersey City. We engage. That's the important thing, engaging the person to find out why they're homeless, and then dealing with that situation right away, and the other things will come. But again, dealing with what happens at that particular time, and that's engaging, and that's the most important thing you need to do.
Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Madam President, let me just finish. I sincerely hope that this commission looks at the roots of the problem, deals with it, and not use an approach that basically kicks the can up the road.
Absolutely.
Okay? Continue to feed the homeless is not the answer to the whole problem. The answer to the whole problem is identify exactly the reasons why those folks are in the situation that they're in. Dignity is extremely important when you apply whatever measures you want to apply in order to eliminate this problem, because the intent is not to continue to have this situation. The intent of the Homeless Commission is to find solutions to the problem that we have.
Absolutely, and that's
Thank
what we're
you,
here.
and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Madam President, I'd like to...
Oh, I'm
I'd like-
sorry. Councilman Ramos did indicate he
Yeah,
wanted
I
to.
just want to sponsor Catholic Charities nomination for the Homeless Commission. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Reverend David
Yes.
Jones?
I'm sorry. The Corp Council has come to the microphone.
Good morning, Kenyatta Store, City of Newark Corporation Council. So I just wanted to let the council, put the council aware on notice that there are 5 of the individuals who have actually contacted us and said they have work conflicts. And one of them, you know, has actually been called already. I didn't get to the mic beforehand. We don't want the council to feel that they, you know, don't take this serious, but they had work conflicts that they could not make it here, and they would make sure they're here for the next agenda if possible. If I can just give you the names so that you all would know who they are in advance.
Okay, we'd appreciate that.
On page 7 is Frank Giatomasi. I'm sorry, I'm saying his name. Giassi, I'm sorry.
Yanasi.
Gianassi.
They all sound alike.
The second person is on page 8. It's David Hall. Page 9 is Micheline Davis. Also on page 9 is Sherry Etheridge, I believe that is. And the other people who are listed are here actually in the audience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, next.
Reverend Jones? Would you just state your name and address for the record, please?
Dave Jones, 71 Park Avenue, New York City.
Reverend Jones, you have been nominated by the mayor for an appointment to the Commission on Homelessness. Do you have a statement that you wish to make to the council before they begin their questions?
I do. I represent the Bowery Mission in New York and Goodwill Rescue Mission in Newark. I've had the honor of meeting with a number of you over the last few years. We've been in existence serving the needy communities in Newark and New York since 1879. Consistently, being there to certainly feed and provide shelter, but with the ultimate aim of journeying with individuals who choose help to a life of independence and dignity. As Councilman Amador noted, we do recognize the challenges of the sources of homelessness because they're myriad. And some people would like for a simple solution to a complicated problem, and I think the Homelessness Commission, it'll be critical that we recognize and deal with the breadth of the issue that give rise to homelessness, but then also the many different alternatives for solutions and put those on the table. The solutions, so there's a difference between dealing with the root issues that were alluded to earlier, and the fact that someone experiencing homelessness today on the streets needs a solution. And so a big part of it will be addressing the person who's living on the streets today and providing those solutions. But I think we will need to spend time in the space of looking at root causes and see if there's a trend in this particular community that might be perhaps different than others.
You got comments? Reverend Jones, I do have a question. Where is your facility located in Newark?
79 University Avenue.
I'm sorry?
79 University Avenue.
Goodwill.
Oh, good.
Goodwill Rescue Mission. Yeah.
That's yours. Oh, yes. Yes.
We've been there together.
It's been a minute. Sorry. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, we have.
Oh, yeah.
For those of you who are looking at the agenda and perhaps questioning where Reverend Jones lives, believe me, he lives in Newark. He just has an address in New York City.
I'm everywhere. I'm back and forth.
Thanks for the clarification. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to thank the Reverend, and I just want to mention that Goodwill is one of the few organizations in the city, not-for-profit, that actually doesn't receive any kind of government support. So they strictly rely on, generous donations, and they do a really good job of serving some of the, hardest to serve in our city. So
thank you.
Appreciate your work.
Anyone else? Thank you. Congratulations. Next appointee.
Michael Bright.
Sidebar, you didn't call me back yesterday.
Would you just state your name and address for the record, please?
Michael Bright, 1 Woodland Drive, Woodland Park, New Jersey.
Mr. Bright, you have been nominated by the mayor for an appointment to the Commission on Homelessness. Do you have a statement that you wish to make to the council before they begin their questions?
Yes, I do. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to come here before you and the opportunity to serve in this capacity. I have over 24 years of service in the YMCA, all those years working in the housing world. The YMCA itself has been in the community for 138 years. We've been doing housing for over 70 years, more so emergency housing, crisis housing for the last 35 years. As one of the region's largest family shelters, we do all services wraparound. We also have over 65 permanent supportive housing units within the community. I think that with all the resources, knowledge, and passion that I have as the Y leader, I also have the resources behind me from the national Y and a great staff team. So with that, I'm sure I can't add anything else that the others have already talked about regarding the problem, other than our passion to help serve.
Councilwoman McIver.
So, Mr. Bright, I just want to tell you, I want to say thank you. I would like to sponsor Mr. Bright's appointment. I just want to commend the YMCA and your work and everything that you guys have been doing in our city for a very long time. And so it just makes perfect sense that you would sit on this commission so we can have a direct, not that we already do not have a direct partnership, but you can be right involved with the stuff going on here in the city with other partners. So I just want to tell you thank you. And just continue to be there for us here in the city. Thank you. Can I get a second?
Anyone else? Mr. Clerk, I'd like to sponsor Mr. Bright. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Osborne.
Congratulations, man.
Congratulations. Yeah. Well, you're going to have a battle over that one.
Did you hear what he said, Kathleen? You were smiling. Congratulations. Next,
Victor Cirillo.
Appearing.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Victor Cirillo, 55 Benvenue Avenue, West Orange, and 500 Broad Street, Newark Housing Authority.
Mr. Cirillo, you have been nominated by the mayor for an appointment to the Commission on Homelessness. Do you have a statement that you wish to make to the council before they begin their questions?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Clerk, members of the council. It's an honor always to be here, and I'm always amazed by the architecture. You know, sometimes I just wander out. It's just such a beautiful setting. I do also want to commend our chairman, Councilman Eddie Osborne, was just reappointed for another term at the Housing Authority. So congratulations again publicly, Mr. Chairman, for your leadership of the Housing Authority, and Crystal Harvey, your chief of staff as well. Thank you for what you do for our residents, and we see this as an extension of our mandate as the Housing Authority to be involved on addressing the issue of homelessness. I was thinking about just a matter on the way here, and I thought about two things, and that is that I find public safety and homelessness to be the Achilles heel to progress in the city. We have to address those issues. We've done a really good job with public service, right? I'm sorry, with public safety. As you saw from the recent announcement, we're moving forward as a community, but it's not easy, but it takes a lot of work. Public safety is in the process of being addressed. Let's tackle the issue of homelessness. We have to look at it holistically. There's actually a model in Bergen County where the Housing Authority was involved in working together with the nonprofits, with the service organizations, to assess as to why we have, for example, in Newark, 1,700 homeless individuals in the street. I always wonder when I drive around the city, we have the ability to bring folks in, but there are other issues that may get in the way. So I'm looking forward to working together with this group on behalf of the Housing Authority, not only to expand options, affordable housing options. As many of you know, we have a lot of complexes out there that are in the process of being rebuilt. We're revamping our development department, and it's just an exciting time, and we want to be part. The Housing Authority wants to be part of the solution. I really appreciate you making us part of that process.
Anyone else? Councilman Osborne.
I just want to congratulate Victor for serving on this board, and I'd like to be noted as a sponsor.
Yes. Seconded by Councilman Gonzalez.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
Next nominee.
Denise V. Rogers. Please state your name and address for the record.
Denise Rogers, 50 Grandview Place, Montclair, New Jersey.
Ms. Rogers, you have been nominated by the mayor for an appointment to the Commission on Homelessness. Do you have a statement that you wish to make to the council before they begin their questions?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I have the privilege of being asked to chair this commission, and I believe that part of my goal in doing that is to learn from the people that have come before me and those that will come after me who are on the ground doing this work and providing care to the homeless. It is also my goal to have conversations with the business community, with the philanthropic community, and obviously with my connections to Rutgers, to some of my colleagues in academia who have been sort of looking at the issue of homelessness sort of more broadly, who have some understanding of best practices from throughout the country. I think that when I think about the problem that we are going to be tackling over the next several years as part of this commission, I think the most important thing I want to say is that if indeed we had the answers on how to most effectively address this issue, we wouldn't need for this commission to exist. And so part of our goal is to really engage in a very steep learning curve to not only get a sense of the magnitude of the problem, but also the various constituencies of folks who are affected by homelessness. So we know that there are a subset of people who are homeless that we don't even see. So we know there are housing insecure people who do what we call couch surfing, who go from relative to neighbor and who have instability, who very often are women with children. Some of those families end up in worst case scenarios living in their cars, but these aren't sort of the traditional homeless people that we see doing panhandling or hanging out in the park that's near Penn Station or in Penn Station itself. Some of the kinds of things that can be done to help that problem obviously is addressing issues related to affordable housing. I think an important step that the city has just taken is the right to counsel laws so that we can have people understand what their legal rights are if they're facing eviction and that sort of thing. So that's one pool of people we have to grapple with. There's the more visible set of homeless people, however, many of whom, and I would actually argue most of whom, have behavioral issues, so who have either substance abuse, mental health issues, or both. And part of what becomes very difficult in that is two things. One is we know that we have inadequate resources for the treatment of chronic persistent mental illness, and we have inadequate resources for the treatment of substance use issues in people on an ongoing basis. And so part of our work will be, again, to try to understand where is it that we just haven't been able to appropriately connect people, but then where is it that we just don't have enough capacity, and how can we begin to think about addressing that? But the most complicated issue is that we work with the homeless, is that a subset of the people that I just described have a disease that makes them think they don't have a disease. So we can get folks into care, and we can offer them meds, and we can offer them shelter and the like, but their underlying issues mean that very often they don't want to stay. They don't want to remain in shelters and in care. And then we will have to help work with our mental health professionals to sort of figure out how we begin to tackle that, but understanding it is an extremely complex problem.
Let me thank you, Dr. Rogers, for such a...
Am I going on too long?
Yes.
I apologize.
Not really.
I apologize. I just wanted to give you a sense of how I was
However, it's not, you're not a stranger to this group. So we do thank you.
Sorry.
Any comments or questions?
Congratulations.
Council? Congratulations, yes.
Well, Dr. Rogers, I want to congratulate you, but also I want to thank you for your commitment to Newark. This is not the first time that you volunteered your services. I think at this time you're the right person at the right time for what we're dealing with the homeless issue, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I appreciate it very much.
Madam President, I just
Yes, Councilman Gonzalez.
thank Dr. Rogers also because being the busy person that you are dedicating, again, more time to the city of Newark to try and solve one of the more pressing problems that we have in the city. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next appointee, Mr. Clerk.
Nicole Fields. Please state your name and address for the record.
Nicole Fields, 932 Park Avenue, Hoboken, New Jersey.
Ms. Fields, you have been nominated by the mayor for an appointment to the Commission on Homelessness. Do you have a statement that you wish to make to the council before they begin their questions?
I do. I'm Nicole Fields. I'm the CEO of St. James Health here in Newark. We are a federally qualified health center with our first location in the East Ward. Over the past 3 years since opening the doors, we've started serving a large number of homeless patients and found many patients on the verge of homelessness. Being in a clinical environment, our doctors are trusted in the community, and a lot of times we can identify problems before the patient becomes homeless. Also, one of the root causes of homelessness is, a lot of times is healthcare bills. So by providing low-cost healthcare to patients throughout the city of Newark, we're able to better to keep them from becoming homeless. As we expand our services based on the needs in the community. So this was a great opportunity for us to better understand the needs of the homeless population and continue to expand our services to what they need.
Any comments?
I have a comment. Congratulations, Nicole. You're doing a great job, and I look forward to working with you when you open up the health clinic in the West Ward.
We're excited
But I understand you're going to hit the ground running, and look forward to moving forward with you. Thanks. Thanks for your service.
Councilman.
Madam President, as one who has witnessed the work being done by Nicole at the St. James Health Clinic, I would like to sponsor this this mayor's recommendation for the Homeless Commission. And I also would like to make one particular statement. I hope that the individual, the other individual that I gave to the Corporation Council, the other name, is included in this commission from the East Ward, because if there's one community that is affected by this problem, is the East Ward. Everyone knows that Peter Francisco Park is located in the East Ward. It's right outside the Penn Station. And I find it ironic that somebody from the New Jersey Transit who works at the Penn Station, who basically has a policy of chasing people out into the communities, is included in this commission. And no member of the East Ward is being appointed to this commission. So I hope there's a reconsideration, and the name that I gave to the Corporation Council is accepted. But I totally support, based on the work that she has given and she has done and continues to do in the city of Newark, I totally support the recommendation of Nicole Fields to this position.
I'll second.
Council. Oh. Well, if you can get a third, you've got mine. When I read a little bit about your service, I was impressed. But what really impressed me, and I shall be candid before the camera, is that you come from a great family that has contributed for more years than I can care, that I care to count in terms of my years of service. And so if you are any example of what the Fields family has been to the great city, you are going to be an incredible asset to this commission. Councilwoman McIver beat me to the punch to say that she seconded Councilman McCallum wanted to second, so we're going to respect those who took that opportunity. But as a council as a whole, we are delighted, absolutely. Absolutely delighted. Anyone else?
Congratulations, Nicole.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Congratulations.
James Gonzalez.
Before Mr. Gonzalez speaks, I'd like to sponsor him.
Okay.
I knew that I was not going to get a chance.
I'll second that.
So, and Councilman Gonzalez seconds.
Hey, that could be a compliment.
That's my cousin.
Mr. Gonzalez, please state your name and address for the record.
As the chair, I don't get to vote until at the end, right? It's protocol.
You're setting a new precedent.
Yes, I am.
Good morning. My name is James Gonzalez. I live at 50 Howard Place in Nutley, New Jersey.
Mr. Gonzalez, you have been nominated by the mayor for an appointment to the Commission on Homelessness. Do you have a statement that you wish to make to the council before they begin their questions?
Yes, I do. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's an honor and privilege to be in front of you today to help deal with the issue of homelessness throughout the city of Newark. I serve as the president and CEO of Broadway House for Continuing Care, the state's only HIV/AIDS special care facility that has been open since 1995, serving the needs of individuals who are living with HIV, have suffered with drug addiction, and also with psychiatric disorders. And I will say that over the many years I've been the CEO there, over 50% of the folks that we care for come from a homelessness situation. And I think that our dedication and of our staff has created a program that has both been recognized not only from the state's perspective on a national level as well. Previously, I've also served as the CEO of University Hospital, so I understand the issues of the homelessness of patients coming through the emergency room 5, 10, 15, 20 times a year, trying to seek care and treatment. And as many of you know, the combination of living in a home and having health has to come hand in hand together. So we are proposing to the state officials, actually have a meeting tomorrow in Trenton, to open up a medical respite at Broadway House that would allow care and treatment of the homeless being identified throughout the city so that we can bring them into our facility, stabilize them both from a medical perspective, a psychiatric perspective, and a housing perspective, and work with our resources that we have in the city, such as St. James FQHC or Catholic Charities or our EMS system or our police department, so that we can work together in a coordinated effort to attack the issue.
Any other comments or questions?
No. Congratulations.
No comment.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I do want to ask really a quick response, if you don't mind. The idea of medical respite, yesterday I had an opportunity to talk to Jackie DeVore at the county. It is my understanding, because our conversation wasn't long, we're going to meet, the medical respite patients, is that paid for by the county or by the state?
So that's a discussion that I'm going to begin tomorrow with Chuck Richmond from the New Jersey Housing and Housing Authority. I think that we have to piece together different streams of support, because there's a housing component, obviously, that we're caring for the individuals under a roof, and so they need a stabilized environment in order to become better. And on the other side, funds perhaps from the county, funds perhaps from Medicaid, who can help support the cost of medical care treatment, both from the medical perspective, on the addictions and psychiatric perspective as well. So I think it's going to be a combination of piecing these resources together in order to make the program viable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, there is one additional individual on the added starter sheet. Is Gregory Harvey in the chamber?
Yes.
Good morning, everybody.
Please state your name and address for the record.
We're fighting over who's going to sponsor you. Ooh.
Yeah, probably, because...
Well, you have a problem, because so far, 3 people have whispered in my ear that they want to sponsor you.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Gregory Harvey. I now live at 142 Clinton Avenue, because it's closer to where I work at. I do have a statement to make. For those of you who've known me over the years, you know I'm formerly homeless, so I look at this from a whole different perspective. I have a problem. People who look at homeless folks and consider them to be a certain way. I wasn't homeless because I was a drug addict. I wasn't homeless because I was a gangbanger. I was homeless because I was a single parent. Okay? I think that if we have people making policies who don't even talk to homeless people. You know what I mean? They have no contact with them whatsoever, but they're going to get up there and make policies for them. Talk to one. Just because you're homeless does not mean you're stupid or illiterate. Ask them what they need. You guys have asked me, so ask them. It may not be, I need food. It might be, I need a set of tools because I can build a house. Ask them. Okay, and then give them the ability, we had wraparound services, to do what they do best. Amen.
Understood.
Madam President.
Anyone else? Councilman.
I just want to thank Dr. Wade for recommending, you know, I've worked with Gregory in the past. You know, I think he's an outstanding advocate, you know, someone who the city's very fortunate to have as part of the health department family. So I agree with him. I think we definitely need to have more representation from actual constituents, you know, in any commission that looks to set up services that affect, you know, that. And hopefully he's not the last person to be recommended that actually has experienced homelessness directly or is currently homeless. So,
Councilman McCollum.
I have a comment. Thanks, Greg. I'm glad to see that they added you. The council was kind of upset last week when, you know, your name was not added to the list. So, you know, I want to make a statement, and I want to congratulate the administration, because what he did do was he put a team of the best of the best. You know, he has some of the best, smartest minds that work with the city. And so I want to commend the mayor and the administration for that. And I want to commend you. We worked together at the health department many years ago. And you've been in the trenches for a long time. So thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Thanks. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I'd like to give you your props. I'd like to give you your props while the opportunity presents itself. For those of you who do not know this gentleman who is standing before the podium, long before the word homelessness existed as a crisis, Greg Avery and, what was your part?
Leonard Prentice.
Yes. There were 2 gentlemen who brought to the attention of the administration that there was a population that had no, that had been given no direction, no real consideration. And the reason, and I say this because it's critical that they know, not somebody with a PhD, not somebody with a doctor, not somebody with initials after their name, but it was this gentleman standing before us this morning, and his partner, who is not here, and I don't know where he is now. I haven't seen him in years. This is the reason we have our program. I want you to give him a round of applause because he deserves it. Thank you. It's true.
It's true.
Madam President, that concludes the interviews. I would point out to the administration that because this is the second meeting that that individuals have been brought to the council and not conferred, we will have to return them to administration. However, the administration is free to resubmit them for the next council meeting.
What is these, names again?
Yes.
Again, if Corporation Council, you're going to speak on it?
Corp Council.
I mean, if I get a...
You're going to have to convince more than
council.
councilmen.
To something or come to a... I mean, we should have some correspondence. Why can't you come to an interview?
Well, Councilman, the reason why I got up earlier is because some of these folk that I mentioned, I think there was like 5 names, they actually had work conflicts that they could not be here. One of the people is like Micheline Davis. I mean, we've all had experiences with her doing a number of things, but she just had a work conflict that she could not make it, and they did not intend any disrespect, actually. They just wanted to make sure that you know that they're still interested, they're going to make themselves available, but unfortunately today wasn't a good day for them.
All right.
So that was true of Ms. Davis. What about the others? We've had a night meeting after work. We voted last week, week before last.
So,
and they weren't here for the original interview. So
I understand. If possible, if the council would just consider just deferring it into the next meeting, and then if they're not here by the next meeting, we'll do what we have to do. I understand that the council cannot be held hostage by people's schedule. But we'll make it our business to make sure that anyone who we are asking to be here is here on time promptly.
Thank you, because you asked so nicely. We say yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Madam
Mr.
President,
Clerk.
Madam President, before we proceed with the voting meeting, there is an issue of a settlement on the agenda, and I'd like to go into a brief executive session so that we can have a discussion with Corporation Counsel on this issue.
Is it possible for us to go through the agenda? There are people here.
Okay.
And then go into executive session.
We'll save that for last.
Thank you.
Let's go to the regular agenda then. We are on page 2. This is a ordinance on second reading, public hearing, and ordinance on first reading. This is an ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or his designated director of the Department of Economic and Housing Development to enter into a contract for the purchase of real estate with Albert and Albert Development Ltd. for the acquisition of the Shani Baraka Center property located at 276-300 Clinton Avenue in the South Ward for $2,320,100. Is there council pressure?
Oh, no, I was going to take your job.
Yeah,
Yes, Councilman Gonzalez.
I was looking for some information regarding the cost estimate of the property, even though the cost estimate that was provided to us was for something other than what we have there now. I believe that the cost included in the list exceeded what we are paying for the property, so I don't have any issues with it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Clerk?
Council of the whole to adopt on first reading?
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James absent, McCallum,
Yes.
McIver,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Tanner,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Yes.
Madam President, the ordinance adopted today on first reading will be advertised in accordance with law, and the public hearing will be held at the regular council meeting of February 20th, 2019, beginning at 6:30 p.m. here in the council chamber. Resolutions. Resolution 7R2A is a authorizing resolution for the Department of Economic and Housing Development, referral of proposed First Amendment to the West Ward Model Neighborhood Initiative Redevelopment Plan to the Central Planning Board. You wish to sponsor?
Yeah, I'll sponsor.
Councilman Osborne seconds.
I have a comment.
Roll call.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James absent, McCallum,
Yes.
McIver,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Tanner,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Yes.
Madam
Councilman McCallum.
This resolution is an initiative that will help spur and continue development of the West Ward with quality of life issues, housing issues, beautification, and also help small businesses, and most importantly, help to improve public safety. So I want to commend the EHD for coming up with this. I met with them yesterday. The plan is outstanding, and I look forward to this initiative helping the West Ward to grow. That's it.
Thank you.
Council, Madam.
Yes,
President,
Councilwoman
I just want to echo, I know this is the West Ward, but I just want to echo Councilman McCullum's comments, because it's very important that we strive to move forward all of the wards in our city. And so I just want to commend EHD for this project. It's amazing. This is an amazing initiative, and I just want to give kudos to Altari Shabazz for the work that he's been putting in on this piece. So definitely kudos. Looking forward to it for the West Ward. My friends in the West.
Okay. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Madam President, the next 4 items are contracts ratifying authorizing resolutions for the Department of Health and Community Wellness for contract with subrecipients for emergency shelter services. The 7R5A is the Apostle House. 5B is the Positive Healthcare, Inc. 5C is the HBP Rain Foundation, doing business as Essex County LGBT Rain Foundation. And 5D is the St. James Social Services Corporation through 7R5D. Council of the Whole to adopt.
Roll call, please.
Amador?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
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 Yes. Mr. Clerk, if you could ask and find out who is the new director of Apostle House. I learned a few days ago that there is a new director.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam President?
Yes, Councilman?
Could I request that at a future council meeting that we'd have the staff from Economic Development provide this council with an update on development activities in some of these model neighborhoods that we've designated now for a number of years. I know for a fact that the city has prioritized the investment of CDBG money for demolition purposes. Yeah. We've designated some of these areas for a number of years as, model neighborhood.
Yes.
So I'm just curious to see, has there actually been any development that's happened in those areas? Do we have examples of new construction that's been completed based on the designation of some of these city-owned properties to various developers? It's been about 4.5 years, so there should be some examples of actual construction activity. So I'm just curious to see if the designation and the investment of resources has resulted in some tangible development examples. Okay?
Mr. Clerk, this is not my suggestion, someone in the community said to me recently, is it possible to have Councilman Ramos's comments transcribed so that what they miss in the meeting, they'll be able to read it when someone has a question? Am I making any sense? Is it possible to have his comments or comments from someone else?
Yes, we
can we do that? Do we have that capacity?
We'll talk, the staff and I will work out something, and we'll talk with you to outline what we propose to do.
I guarantee somebody's going to call me about his comment. I guarantee.
Okay. I could say it in Spanish too if you want, if that helps.
Would you?
No, I'm kidding.
In Portuguese, we could do it in Portuguese.
When they have Madam President, when they have
Yes.
the presentation too, I like pictures, visuals,
Yes.
Again, I just want to see if any homes were built in some of these areas, because I know we designate a lot of property, we've invested a whole lot of public money in demolition, and I'm curious that 4.5 years later, do we have one house, or 2 houses, 3 houses that have actually been built in some of these areas?
If anybody's looking for a model, I have one. I do it every year for twice a year.
Mr. Clerk, next item.
For pending business, And I'd like to, let's do the, did I miss one?
7R8.
7R8A is ours. Oops. 7R8A is ratifying authorizing resolution for the Office of Municipal Council City Clerk for a professional services contract for the 2018 statutory audit services single audit pursuant to NJSA 40A:5-4 for the calendar year December 31st, 2000 through ending December 31st, 2018. Council of the whole?
Oh, yes, council as a whole.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James absent, McCallum,
Yes.
McIver,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Clerk, could we send a letter of sorrow and regret to Samuel Klein and Company, Marvin Gottlieb, passed, one of the partners, a very strong supporter of Newark, and unfortunately he passed. He'd been ill for a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
For the appointments, let's do, we'll do those that are being advanced or confirmed at this time. We will be doing 7R9B on page, no, excuse me, B. 9B on page 8. This is being sponsored by Councilman Ramos, second by Councilman Gonzalez. 9C. On page 9, we will be doing 9E. This is sponsored by Councilwoman McIver, second by Council President Crump.
Oh, just the F.
9F, no, not F.
I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk. I took a silly.
9H will be next. This is being sponsored by Councilman Osborne, second by Councilman Gonzalez. And 9S, 9J, this is being sponsored by Councilman Amador, second by Councilwoman McIver. And 9K on page 11 being sponsored by Council President Crump, second by Councilman Gonzalez. And on the added starter page, 9-8, no, this is communication. Let's do the pending first. Council of the whole, with the exception of those with sponsors. Roll call.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James absent, McCallum,
Yes.
McIver,
Yes.
Yes.
McDonough,
Yes.
Ramos,
Yes.
Yes.
Now let's do those that we are deferring action at this time. On page 7, we're doing 9A. On page 8, 9D. On page 9, 9F and 9G. Through 9G, Council of the whole to defer.
Roll call to defer, Mr. Clerk.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Well, President, I thought we were sending them back to administration.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Well, the process is to defer it, but once we've deferred them, we will send them back to the administration.
Yeah. Thank you. We're good. We're good.
Roll with me. On the at the starter page on communications, the appointment to the Homeless Commission, Council of the Whole. Roll call.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James absent, McCallum,
Yes.
McIver,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
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 Okay, we have skipped over 7R6A for discussion with Corporation Counsel in executive session. Council of the Whole for an executive session.
Mr. Clerk, we have not finished. What about the public safety? And we do have something under communications.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let's finish this, the agenda. 7R9A is a authorizing resolution for the Department of Public Safety for an EUS contract to provide incident management training to emergency managers, first responders, and municipal officials and executives. Council of the whole.
Roll call.
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
James absent. McCallum.
Yes.
McIver.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Yes.
On communications, 8A is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a lease agreement by which the City of Newark will lease from the Parking Authority of the City of Newark approximately 12,460 square feet of office space to be utilized by the Finance Department and approximately 11,840 square feet of office and/or storage space to be utilized by the municipal courts, and the city will have the right to daily use and occupancy during normal business hours, Monday through Friday, excluding holidays, or of 258 parking spaces, property located at 47-63 Green Street for a period of 30 years. Council of the whole to advance to first reading.
Madam President. I just have a few questions. I know that this is an item that the Parking Authority representatives came and met with us a few months back. I know there were some issues regarding the negotiated rate per square foot. So I just want to ask the administrator if he's comfortable that this is an amount that the city can afford, and is it comparable to the similar construction around the area?
For Class A office space, the rate that we are agreeing to is comparable. This is $27 comparable space in the area, and Gateway and other places is up to $32, $33 a square foot. So it is it's a little bit less. And as to your question as to whether or not we can afford it, given the current circumstances, it appears so.
Okay. What about night parking, access over in the evenings? Is that something that's been negotiated for our employees, or does it become strictly a venue parking in the evening?
We have a certain number of spaces that, of the 258, we have a certain number of spaces, up to 50 spaces, where we'll have additional access beyond the normal working hours.
And for those individuals that are parking to attend an event at the Prudential Center, will there be a parking tax assessed to the fee that the city gets?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam President, if I may ask.
Yes, Councilman Gonzalez.
A quick question. This was land that we transferred to the Parking Authority for $1.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are paying the Parking Authority rent at $27 a square foot a year to rent the building that we could have constructed ourselves and maybe rent space to them. And we're doing the other way around. I supported, they say, and I believe I was the 5th vote to transfer the land over to the Parking Authority, but I believe that this is something that we are redistributing the monies of the city or the taxpayers back to an agency that doesn't have the financial wherewithal to finance it, and now we are making it possible for it to be financed. So I don't know why we're doing it. I don't know why we're doing it.
Madam President?
I'm sorry, Councilman Amador.
I read the terms of this ordinance, and the only thought that came to my mind was that this is the best example of socialism at work. It's a redistribution of the wealth going from the city to the Parking Authority. I abstained the last time we had to vote for this, and I'll abstain again.
Any other comments? Mr. Clerk? I'm sorry, Mr. Crump.
Good morning, Council President, Council Vice President, members of Municipal Council. Name is Larry Crump. I'm General Counsel and for the Newark Parking Authority. I believe the question from Councilman Gonzalez was whether we had the financial wherewithal to complete this project. Well, we actually do. We have a team of folks who are working with us to get this done.
If the city doesn't rent the space, you have somebody else that would rent the space.
No, this is part of the arrangement, and the bank that we've borrowed the money for to build this facility has, fully vetted the parking authority and the people that work there to make sure that this is a proper endeavor. So they're willing to put up a large sum of money to make this happen.
I am the bank, and I know that you have the way of repaying, because the city is committed for 30 years to pay you for 20,000 square feet of space. I would lend you the money myself, let's say, if I had the money. So if you have security of the payment, the bank is not taking any risk.
Well, the money from the lease agreement does not equal what the debt service is. The debt service is more than that.
Of course, because you have other tenants.
Well, we actually have the parking authority is the only other tenant outside of the city, and we have a possible 2,200 square feet that would be just for some kind of like a small cafeteria, or not cafeteria is the wrong choice of word, but a small restaurant. So,
let's say the question here is, if the city were to do it, the city has the financial ability to do it itself? Let's say, does the city have the bonding capacity to do it itself, other than transferring the property over to the parking authority? Because what we're doing is transferring the property over to the parking authority so that we can rent it back from them. So why don't we, the city, do the building, construct the building, and finance it?
Well, I believe one of the reasons was that the city didn't want to burden themselves with that large amount of money to borrow. What this does is allow the city to have the space without the burden of having to pay back that money, and it would be on.
They don't have the burden of the bonds, but they have the burden of at least for 30 years. That is the same.
Madam President, could I just mention something? I too, I didn't support the original transfer. Nothing against the parking authority, but I thought that this is definitely one of the most valuable pieces of property that the city owns, and I supported the idea of us, having some kind of process where we can solicit different proposed uses for that property if our intention was to have some kind of partnership with a private entity. And originally, the city actually guaranteed the bonds for construction. Is that correct?
Good morning. My name is Everett Johnson. I'm bond counsel to the Newark Parking Authority. There's a couple of things I want to address, and I'll get to your question in a minute. Remember, the city signed a redevelopment agreement with the Parking Authority over a year ago in the fall. Well, they approved it via ordinance in the fall of 2017 and executed the RDA last spring. The RDA appointed the Newark Parking Authority as developer for the site. As part of the RDA, we are compelled by the city to build this facility, which includes the finance building department and the actual municipal space for the municipal courts. So this is not something that we decided to do just on our own via this lease. In the redevelopment agreement that's already been executed between the city and the Parking Authority, that was our responsibility to do.
Council, let me clarify to you that this project has been in the works for over 10 years, and this was when Judge Booker was the director of the Parking Authority. So it goes much beyond, say, what you're saying. I believe that we have traveled that road many, many times.
Understood. But I'm just letting you know that there was an agreement already in place what we're compelled to do to initiate this transaction. Two, and piggybacking on what Mr. Crump stated earlier, that at $27 a square foot, with over a 30-year period with escalators, the total cost that you'll be paying for the lease of the facility is less than the actual construction cost that the Newark Parking Authority is paying to construct the site. It is not merely because the Parking Authority is going to be in there as well as a tenant. You guys are actually paying less with us building this site than you would be paying if you would finance it yourself.
So, Mr. Johnson, you're basically pointing a gun at those members of this council. Yes, you are. You're actually reminding us of the past agreements or the past votes that we took in this council. You're basically saying that it's an obligation on our part to go forward with this project.
No, I'm saying it's an obligation on our part.
No, you started you started by telling us that we voted in a certain way before that obligated us to follow through with whatever was recommended going back 10 years ago, as my colleague said, and continuing in the past, in the recent past. So for those who voted yes, and if I remember, every time this matter came before the council, it was a 5-4 vote.
Yes.
Okay? So what you're saying is those individuals who voted yes have to continue to vote yes on this matter, so we have to finish it.
Well, I mean, that's still, it's the council prerogative of how they want to move forward on this particular ordinance about specifying that you have to vote a certain way. I was only clarifying, historically speaking, that we're fulfilling obligations pursuant to the agreement we've already been entered into with the city, which is to finance this particular facility, which includes parking. And the fact that you mentioned it's $27 a square foot, I'm just pointing out that yes, you could finance it on your own, but it would cost you more money to do it that way. That's still your prerogative to do. I'm just stating that would be the facts.
Let me ask you, in terms of the voting for this, we have 2 options, and I understand that you already sold the bonds to finance the transaction. You close on the bonds.
That is correct.
So that the parking authority already has the liability of paying for the bonds, even though you don't have let's say a way, you don't have a certain way yet of paying for the bonds because you don't have the lease that would guarantee the payment from the city to you so that you can pay the bondholders.
Legally, that is an accurate statement, but economically, because of the way this deal was structured, we didn't receive our bond proceeds into an account that we control right now. It's kind of a thing about it on a project finance basis where we submit requisitions to the bank and then they pay us, they reimburse us money. So even though we closed, we're not currently paying principal interest on those bonds because we haven't drawn any money down on that debt as of
It's
yet.
based on a drawdown.
That's correct. So as we draw down on the funds, then we become responsible for paying that money back. We have not drawn down any money, so at this point in time, even though we're legally liable, economically we're not liable because we're not paying anything at this point in time.
Any other comments,
I'm sorry, I was going to respond to Mr. Ramos.
Councilman Ramos?
Yeah, the issue of guaranteeing the bonds, originally the city had some kind of agreement with the authority. You were able, because of, I guess the estimated construction costs to pull the city out of guaranteeing some of the construction bonds, correct?
So there was never an agreement for the city to guarantee the debt of the authority. There was discussions about whether the city would do so, primarily because every other parking authority in the state has their debt guaranteed by the municipality located in, whether it be Fort Lee, Trenton, Camden. So generally, historically speaking, that's the way it was done, but there was never an agreement by the city to do so. When the city council expressed an interest in not doing so, we went back to the drawing board and created a structure that we could move forward with without the city guaranteeing the debt.
How long has the RDA been in place for this property?
It was executed in May of 2018.
So I just want to clarify. I don't think Everett's intention was to, point the finger at the council. He's basically stating that in many instances, this council asks about properties that have been designated to various, developers and the timeline for them to actually build or construct. And the parking authority, I guess, by the city council agreeing to transfer ownership of this property, whether it was by a 5-4 majority or whatever it was, they have, the time is ticking on their end, that they have to come up with some kind of, project on the site.
Exactly right, Mr. Ramos.
Okay. And again, I appreciate the authorities' willingness to sit down and talk to us. From day one, my position was that I thought, the city should have looked at different options for this particular piece of property. And I just want to make sure that the new administrator and his team, think this is something that's going to be beneficial to the city. Because I think Councilman Gonzalez raised some excellent points and questions as to why wouldn't the city, if the idea was to build a parking deck and some limited office space, then why wouldn't the city, if it has the bonding capacity, go ahead and explore the idea of doing it themselves. So.
Any other?
Eric Pennington, Business Administrator. With respect to that comment, the property has been transferred to the Parking Authority already. So part of the question is essentially moot. We can't really revisit that issue given the manner in which you went forward. My understanding is that the questions that are being raised here were thoroughly vetted and that the administration made a decision that this was in the administration's best interest.
Can we buy the land back from the...
Could we buy it back?
Let's say we transfer it for $1, so why not get it back?
Well, we sold it for a small sum. Whether they would sell it back for that amount is a question the people behind me could answer better.
What was,
Councilwoman McIver.
What was the sell price? I'm sorry,
So
maybe I
we
missed
can
that.
say that there was not even consideration.
It was $1.
Wow.
Yes, Councilwoman McIver, the transfer price.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, Eric, could the city build this parking deck? I think that's the question. Do we have the capacity to build the parking deck and the office space?
Our bonding capacity has improved since this negotiation was entered into. I haven't made an assessment, a specific assessment of this particular deal. I suspect so.
Okay.
I understand the city is contemplating a bigger transaction for some other uses that is going to take much more bonding capacity that we're talking here. So I believe that the city has, in fact, have the bonding capacity to go and do this project. It might not have the bonding capacity then to do whatever you intend to do later.
Exactly.
But I believe that bonding capacity is not the question. The question is whether we want to continue with this lease or this transaction where we're going to where we transfer property to the parking authority and now are leasing it back from them in terms of a parking space and office space. That's the question, whether we wanted to do that or not. And I believe by the vote of 5-4 at the time, that was the intention.
Well, your question with respect to the bonding capacity with respect to this project and other projects is a valid question, because we'd have to take a look to see some of the other items that are in the pipeline, whether or not that would limit the city's ability to bond those projects and this project as well. I have not looked at it to the degree you're asking right now, but again, we don't own the property.
But
Council,
if I may, it's let's say bonding capacity is like having a credit card with a $25,000 limit. The more you use it, the lower your credit. So if you have let's say you have $100 million in bonding capacity and you are using up to that limit, you are going to have to pay a higher interest rate on the bonds because your risk of defaulting is much higher than if you were not doing that.
That is true. There's obviously other things we can do simultaneously or in addition to strengthen that rating. One would be to make sure that we have better reserves, make sure that our budget and tax increases are in alignment, make sure that we have a reassessment of what the assets are. I mean, there's several things that can be done, so, which you're far more aware than I, but.
No, for sure. It's, and I believe that we have that opportunity, we will have that opportunity, let's say in the months and years to come. It's a matter of what is it that we want to do with that bonding capacity that we have, let's say, how we want to use it. That's a question, and that's something that you as the BA will have to determine.
Yes. Thank you.
Councilman?
I think there was.
Amador, I'm sorry.
Just a couple of things. To put it in layman's terms, what we're doing is we're selling for $1, probably one of the most valuable pieces of land in the city of Newark. And the parking authority is going to build 515 parking spaces, plus office space, plus a coffee shop, among other things. Right now, because of the proximity to the arena, this is prime land. In terms of parking, it's prime land. And we're going to have to for the space that we're going to get, based on the agreement, we're going to have to pay $27 per square foot and I believe it's 5% increase per year?
Every 3 years.
Every 3 years?
Yes.
Something doesn't jive here.
Well, the percentage increase over that period of time is in line with what the normal cost of the increase in the CPI and other indexes, so that's not out of line. If you're saying that the $27 per square foot is out of line, it's consistent with the price per square foot of comparable space in the area. In fact, it's on the lower end with respect to that. So that part is it is fiscally in line with other projects in the area, and the increase is also appropriate at the current time.
What rates are going to be charged by the parking authority on the spaces that will be available?
I do not have.
Same thing as the private entities around?
I presume so. They can answer.
So that means that for $1, we're going to abdicate the ability of benefiting from building a facility ourselves, and we're going to give that ability to the parking authority.
Well, it's factually accurate that the transfer was for $1, but the benefit to the city, its citizens, and the area is far beyond what the indication of what the transfer and the property price was for $1. The transfer price didn't reflect, obviously, the value of the property. It reflects the administration's belief that the parking authority was the best entity to develop and manage this property and to provide the area with what it needs at the time that this negotiation was going forward.
The one argument I haven't heard from you is that we were obligated under the agreement with the arena to construct a parking structure.
That was part of the settlement.
Yeah, they say, and that's why we went that way, and that's why I voted to transfer the land, because we were committed and we were responsible for developing a parking space with certain number of units.
Right.
And I haven't heard that from you.
Well, that's true. In order for the city to get the benefit of the settlement, there was a quid pro quo. One of the obligations on our part was to develop a parking structure with, I think, in excess of 500 spaces in order for the city to benefit from the settlement agreement. So yes, you're absolutely correct, Councilman.
Councilwoman McIver.
I was just going to say the same thing. If you could just elaborate for the people, for the public, what the benefits are to the city, like to be clear about that, so everybody hears and understands, and for the people that are viewing, they understand what the benefits are to the city, both short term and long term, to this project.
One, we want to comply with what Councilman Gonzalez just indicated. We want to comply with the terms of the settlement agreement we entered into with the Devils. Failure to do so could have a negative impact on us. We have parking spaces that the city will be able to use. The finance department is now in space that is not really conducive for its purposes. They're going to be moved into a new space that will allow us to free up the space that they have now and to ultimately reutilize that building, either through selling it, well, more likely than not selling it, which will create opportunities for the city. The municipal court is dilapidated. It needs to have more storage space and more office capacity to do its job. The citizens deserve that. That'll be part of what what the project is. It will generate taxes too, and revenue through the parking authority to the city that we wouldn't otherwise get.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, I just want to make an observation, because I know Mr. Crump mentioned the fact that there's going to be some retail space incorporated into the design, and it seems like every new structure in the downtown area has retail space on the first floor, and about 80% of it is empty. And that's something that I think economic development really needs to rethink. All you see is, there's just so many 7-Elevens that Broad Street can handle at one time, and then Amazon has changed the nature of retail. So I don't know if this space is really needed, all this retail space being required in the development of these new projects, the NJ Pack, residential, empty storefronts, retail, Prudential, empty retail space. I mean, you drive down Broad Street, it looks nice, but it's empty. And I'm not sure, I don't think the demand is there anymore as far as retail. So
Valid points.
We can always have another barber shop.
Right. The parking authority would like this ordinance to be advanced and adopted on first, if possible.
The other thing,
Mr. Clerk.
Madam President, the other thing is that I believe that as part of the redevelopment agreement with the arena, Mr. Lopez is supposed to develop that lot that is across the street, so that we would be losing a lot of parking space if that development happens as it was intended. So I believe that that's something that would benefit the city in that then we will have this space so that the people that go to the arena will have to use this parking and not, because they won't have the parking that Lopez has now and the one across the street that Edison has. So I believe long-term, the city, the benefit would be more obvious than it is now to the city.
Part of the agreement with the Devils is that they will use a certain portion of those parking spaces as well, but your point is well taken. Well taken.
Mr. B.A., what was the recommendation? I'm sorry, I was...
To advance and adopt on first.
Mr. Clerk, roll call to adopt and advance. Advance to first and adopt. Everybody will vote. Yes.
Advance and adopt, this will be 6FB. Advancing and adopting on first. Council of the whole, roll call.
Amador,
Abstain.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James absent, McCallum,
Yes.
MacGyver,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Ghana,
Abstain.
Ramos,
Abstain.
President Crump.
Yes.
Okay, then let's go into executive session for the discussion with Corporation Counsel. But before I do that, Madam President, this ordinance that was adopted on first reading will be advertised in accordance with law, and a public hearing will be held at the regular council meeting of February 20th, 2019, beginning at 6:30 p.m. here in the council chamber. Council of the whole for executive session.
Amador,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
James absent, McCallum,
Yes.
Yes.
Ghana,
Yes.
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 I don't even take this. Okay, you know what she told me?
I did it, yeah. Well,
See, I had abstain on that vote too, remember? I wasn't.
They blocked the guy from getting a multi-million-dollar free build, a new building, which would be jobs on University Avenue, the AIDS place.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah, Bain.
yes, I know.
A whole new building around the corner. They're already on Washington Street. Yeah. So public service. Yeah, I know.
Really?
So they're gonna do parking for them, a new building. So they're presenting legislation that's gonna go to the clerk, where they found a way to be able to do the project. It's just for 2 lots or something that they needed. They voted the project down, man. Central Ward.
You're back.
Madam President, we are back from the executive session. We have one final item on the agenda. This is 7R6A. This is a pre-litigation settlement.
Council as a whole.
Council as a whole to adopt.
Yes.
Names absent. McCallum.
Yes.
Guyver.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Turner absent. Ramos.
Yes.
Yes.
We are now in the public speaking portion of this meeting. This is a 30-minute period in which speakers will be given 3 minutes to speak. When you step to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. You'll see a small timing device on the podium in front of you, which will begin counting down your time when you begin speaking. When you reach the 2-minute mark, the yellow light will illuminate, indicating that you have 1 minute remaining for summation. When you reach the 3rd minute, the red light will illuminate and there will be an audible sound. Please look forward, speak into the microphone. We are recording these proceedings, and if you turn away, we may miss part of your statement. Is there anyone present that wishes to speak at this time?
All right.
Munir El Boumani, a citizen of Newark. First, I want to say it's good to see that you all are revisiting and trying to come up with a sustainable plan to address the Newark homeless and lack of affordable housing for all levels of income. Question I want to ask is, didn't you all vote for the sanctuary city? Question.
Mr. Clerk.
And also for a point of information, I want to say Newark residents also travel to New York and other cities. Residents go to New York and get better services and housing when they go over there, drug treatment and everything. So we send them over there and they get help quicker and get better services as well. I want to publicly state that I sponsor some of the folks appointed because some already are doing the work addressing and assisting the homeless. But I wanted to say that they need to spend the homeless funding wisely and where it's needed. That's one of the problems. Also, we have a rally that's going on right now outside, and we calling for you to revisit and address the epidemic because the point of count has risen for the county of Essex and in the city of Newark particularly, so it is a dire need to address this issue and come up with a sustainable plan. We also need to call on help, emergency, rapid rehousing at this point right now because it's getting ready to get bitter cold sometime later on tonight, right? So we need churches, we need the mosques, we need private landlords, we also need organizations because it's cold blue. And we need other individuals to come help and join in the fight to assist the homeless and also to help shelter. Also, we need to address the TRA and the Section 8 crisis. We need these landlords to be paid with the TRA. We also need to come up with a plan to increase the Section 8 vouchers. We also need to preserve the housing. We need to strengthen the A500 legislation, the one-for-one replacement policy. We need to revisit that, and we also need to re-strengthen that. We need to give tax abatements to developers who are building housing for low-income, transitional, and supportive housing, and most importantly, we need a job plan here in the city of Newark. I don't know what happened to the 2020 plan, but we need to strengthen that as well, and that's all I got to say, and hopefully you can take my suggestions because the Home for All Commission, we are community-based. We are calling on these things, and we need this to happen right now in the city. So that's all I got to say. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Anyone else appearing? Mr. Clerk, no one else appearing.
Thank you. We'll see you. Motion to adjourn the voting meeting?
Roll call.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
James absent. McCallum.
Yes.
Guyver.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Turner absent. Ramos.
Yes.
Manera, I have an answer for you on your sanctuary city question.
Got answers? That's great. Getting like the county now. I can't hear, could you put it on the record? Because the residents need to hear it too. Oh, you closed the meeting? All right, well, put it in writing. If it's not going on the record for the residents, can you send it to me in writing? Can somebody do that? Put it in writing about your sanctuary response? Thank you.
Okay.